Good morning and welcome to the fresh edition of my live comments. President Trump is in Asia. Yesterday, he discussed and addressed the South Korean parliament after having met Abe and Mr. Moon. And today he is in China, wanting to talk to China and solicit China's help to resolve the issue that is confronting not only US but the whole world. That is to restrain Kim and Jong from escalating and denuclearization. The only hope today of Trump for diplomacy is to enlist the help of Russia and China, more important China. That they should intercede to ask North Korea to stop the nuclearization program, stop intercontinental ballistic missiles further testing. The US is in a corner. It realizes that it has no option but either to go to war or seek the help of those people whom it treated as enemies, Russia and China. War is an option, but it's a costly option. Costly in the terms of human life, both American and non-American, as well as financial. It would be a major war. Though one possibility is there that it might be a local nuclear war. But the effects and the after effects of that war would be horrendous. So Trump has promised North Korea they would never be able to strike USA with nuclear weapons. He wants to stop them before they develop nuclear weapons that can hit. Most probably North Korea already has those weapons. And today, desperate as US is, they seek the help of China. Would China come to their aid? Would China help US get off the hook by restraining North Korea? You see, let's realize that there are no permanent enemies and no permanent friends in politics. But the situations can be friendly or otherwise. China definitely doesn't want to annoy USA. It is creditor of USA to the tune of trillions of dollars. And if they become enemies, USA can simply refuse to pay off the trillions of dollars. And also, USA is the biggest importer of Chinese goods. So it can stop importing all Chinese goods. So China is in a fix. It's between the devil and the deep sea. What would it do? China has leverage on North Korea. It has 90% of North Korea's import come from China, 10% from all over the world, including India. And the complete foreign exchange of North Korea comes through trade with China. Beijing could easily leave North Korea freezing and starving in the dark if it chose. Would it do it? It would not. Let's be very clear. Diplomatically, President Xi may throw Donald Trump today a small fish in his basket. For example, he can say, okay, I'm stopping the sale of blow dryers to North Korea. Or to harm them from felling the trees, I'm stopping the sale of chainsaws to North Korea. But China would be hesitant and impudent to do anything that threatens the survival of North Korean regime. And he knows that only the change in the regime can sway Kim, because Kim sees nuclear arms and ICBMs as essential to its very existence. North Korea has been terrified of the perfidy and treachery of USA in case of Libya. They betrayed Shah of Iran, they betrayed Saddam, they betrayed Gaddafi. So they are very hesitant and they say, okay, we are for our protection. We may not use it, but it's a deterrent, and even effective deterrent. Although this deterrent makes South Korea and Japan shiver in their shoes. Now the point is, why would China not help? I'll just show a token of help, which then US media and portals would blow out of proportion, saying that it is successful. The reason is very clear. Xi does not love Kim, definitely not. He also doesn't like Kim conducting the nuclear tests or testing ICBMs. Definitely not. But still he won't do anything. Kim has even annoyed China. It has purged the senior people in its own administration who were close to China. And still China is tolerating Kim. And I can assure you, under no circumstances, until US threatens China with a complete trade embargo, that it would in any way change its opinion, except for the token help. Now, what's the reason for this? The survival of North Korea is seen as vital to the communist rule. It's not to China as a whole, but the confirmation of communist rule in China, that is at stake. All the world's ruling communist parties have been overthrown in the past. USSR, we used to be bugbear for USA in the West, has been reduced to Russia. What is left apart from Chinese Communist Party is just a few odds and ends. North Korea, Cuba, Vietnam, and Laos. And the Communist Party of China's aim is not making China great again or building a blue water navy. It is protecting the power of the party. In case the party loses its power, then the communist regime shall start tottering. And the reasons usually given for Beijing's determination to keep the North Korea are absolutely nonsense. All these political junkies who pose as pundits don't know a thing about China or about North Korea. And they pose as if they are the knowledgeable and know all and end all of everything. The Chinese are very clear. They see everything today through the prism of, will it strengthen the Communist Party's rule in China? Seen through this prism, the collapse of the North Korean regime is a potential mortal threat to the Communist Party of China. And as I said earlier, the reasons given by these junkies in CNN, Washington Post, and New York Times do not make any sense. They think they know a lot, and in fact, they don't know anything. The Chinese communists don't really need to worry about the flood of the North Korean refugees across the border into Manchuria if the government falls. This is a plea given that China can stop it because China would be flooded by the refugees from North Korea through Manchuria. You remember, China protected itself from the refugees from Laos and from Vietnam very effectively. And not a single refugee could enter China, though they were helping those countries. And China knows even if the refugees come, as soon as the things settle down, and in case North and South Korea are reunited as a result of the intervention, these refugees will go back happily because they'll have a better standard of living. So these refugees either would not be there or they would be a very temporary feature. China doesn't remain awake, worrying that a united Korea would bring American troops to the borders of China. No. As a matter of fact, as soon as North Korea is united, there'll be no reason for the American troops to remain in Korea and they'll come home. See what happened in Vietnam. As soon as North and South Vietnam joined hands, they became one country. American troops left within a period of days. Why should they unnecessarily incur expenditure of maintaining millions of troops in South Korea when there's no danger? Because North Korea and South Korea. So this reunion, which I was reading in New York Times, would create a problem for China, is just a figment of a dream. And that dream, which is not a viable dream. So why should the Americans stay? What really frightens China is seeing another communist regime go down the drain. They were terrified in 1989-91 when USSR collapsed, and they blame it on the weakness of the Soviet Communist Party. And they don't want that to happen to the Chinese Communist Party. You see, let's not deny that China has made a lot of progress in all fields, and it's putting all its resources in making technological progress, arms progress. If you look at their new arms, which I put on the Facebook sometime back, you'll be shocked that their armed arsenal are much better than any other countries. So they are not worried about that. Anything you go and see is manufactured in China. Technologically, they are much ahead of the world. I was amazed that just yesterday, I got the news, which no media, West media has carried, that they have perfected the art of seawater rice growing. So they'll grow rice in the sea, thereby solving their hunger problem. So they are worried about the party. They know one show of weakness. They know one step backward, and they could be heading for a free fall, and nothing would protect. China would go the same way the communist Russia went. So leaving Kim fall, howsoever much they may dislike him and hate him, would set up a domino effect which will affect China. And this simple fact escapes the notice of the so-called political pundits and strategists. They don't know the Asian mind. That's the unfortunate part. And they don't want to listen to the sane sense and sane talk from the people who know their mind. So, it is viewed as the dominant group in the Communist Party since Union fell is today ruling China. They will not push Kim too hard, whatever the cost may be. And the US Joint Chiefs of Staff just told Congress that except for a full land invasion, you cannot destroy the North Korea's nuclear weapons. So this is a catch-22. So what's the conclusion? No matter what China might say diplomatically, no matter what the opinion on the op-eds would be of Washington Post or New York Times, are these endless, meaningless discussions of CNN. In the end, North Korea would keep its nuclear weapons, though it might agree ultimately to one thing, that the nuclear weapons would not be used for the successful first strike, so there'll be a limit on their speed, on their missiles speed and things like that, and no further test. But as a defense, as a deterrent, they'll keep it. It's quite possible, and it would happen, that it could not, North Korea would not be able to build a force big enough to do that anyway. But China would not in any way interfere with North Korea's progress towards nuclearization, except for diplomatic statements in UNO, joint communiques with the President Trump, or some useless allurements thrown in the way. Okay, as I said, we'll block the sale of the blow dryers and hacksaws, things like that. But in no material way will they impact the nuclearization of North Korea, because it's suicidal for the Communist Party of China, and that they would never accept. Thank you.